gospel today comes from the Gospel of Luke, and there we read, "Now large crowds were traveling with Jesus, and he turned and said to them, 'Whoever comes to me and does not hate father and mother, wife and children, brothers and sisters, yes, even in life itself, cannot be my disciple. Whoever does not carry the cross and follow me cannot be my disciple. For which of you, intending to build a tower, does not first sit down and estimate the cost to see whether he has enough to complete it? Otherwise, when he has laid a foundation and is not able to finish, all who see it will begin to ridicule him, saying, "This fellow began to build and was not able to finish." Or what king, going out to wage war against another king, will not sit down first and consider whether he is able with 10,000 to oppose the one who comes against him with 20,000? If he cannot, then while the other is still far away, he sends a delegation and asks for the terms of peace. So therefore, none of you can become my disciple if you do not give up all your possessions." Let us pray. Lord, may your words only be spoken and your words only heard, and we do ask this all for your love's precious sake. Amen. Please be seated. Well, it is so very good to see all of you here this morning, to have you with us today. For many of us, the year doesn't really start on January 1st. It starts with the new school year. That's when things gear up again. So we're starting off what it feels like. We're starting off a new year together, and we're just glad to have you with us here today. We are starting off a new sermon series. We're calling it Winning. It's not the main thing, it's the only thing, or is it? And it's a look at what it really means to win, why winning is so important, what we need to do to win, and if we have enough time, what we do when we don't win. That perhaps will be an interesting sermon. I've had a lot of fun preparing this series, and it's actually been very helpful to me personally as I've sought to clarify a few things in my own life, and I'm hoping that it will be equally helpful to you. I want to start by telling you a story this morning. This story comes from my vacation. And when I went on vacation, I went out to Montana and then Wyoming. In Wyoming, I stayed in a little cabin on a large working ranch, 355-acre ranch. A very simple cabin, but just perfect for me. And I was talking to the guy who works on the ranch, who set these things up for me, and I said, "There don't happen to be any golden trout in this area, do there?" And golden trout are a very rare form of trout. They're generally found only at very high elevation lakes above 10,000 feet. It generally is real hard to get to them, so it's a great privilege to fish for them. They're just beautiful. Not many people have caught them. And it's been one of my life's dreams, to catch a golden trout. Wyoming, they're in the Wind River range, 12 to 14,000 feet, but the part of Wyoming where I was, the Star Valley, there's not supposed to be any brown trout there. Golden trout there. There's lots of brown trout. And the guy who owned the ranch, he said, "Oh, it's a funny thing you asked me this, because I was talking to an old timer, and on his deathbed," and I'm not making this up, this is a true story, he said, "on his deathbed, he told me about this lake in this one section of this area that has golden trout in it." And he says, "Nobody knows about it, and you've got to guard this secret with your life, but I'll tell you where it is." And so I was talking to Jason, the rancher of the ranch, and he says, "I want to check this lake out. So I'll tell you what, if you just pay for the gas to trailer the horses up there, we'll go up and check it out." So, I got to do this for $30. It was a pretty good deal. So we trailer the horses up to about 6,000 feet on this road you just won't believe. You would never believe a car could go there, let alone a truck pulling a trailer with 4 horses on it. We start going up this trail. We're going from 6,000 feet to 10,000 feet, vertical gain of about 4,000 feet in just a couple of hours. Once we got off this little fire road, there's no trail. So you're just going through, trees, and it's very, very steep. The incline is incredibly steep. The ground is loose. The rocks are loose. We're going through these aspen trees, these poplars, and I'm third in the row. The pack horse in front of me, and has these big packs off to the side with our rods in it, and it pulls the trees back, because it sticks out a little bit further, and so it makes the trees like rubber bands, and I'm right behind, and whack! It's like I'm trying not to get knocked off my horse by... And we get up in one of these sections, real steep incline, no real trail, precipitous drops on both sides. My horse has to stop when the horses up in front stop, because it's not the lead horse, and it's not on firm ground, and I can just feel its back leg just going on like a sewing machine, and it's trying to stand up. And I can feel its heart pounding, and we just go a little bit further. My horse just goes down all fours. It just loses its footing, and horses never do this. And it's like, oh my goodness. But it got back up, and we made it to the top, and the lake, I don't know if it had golden trout in it or not, because we did not catch any. It had gotten very cold the night before. There had been ice on the lake, and so whatever fish there were, they apparently went deep and didn't want to play, but it didn't matter. It was beautiful, and it was worth every inch of the way. Coming down, so I was happy when we made it up, all right, because I'm an Eastern boy. I've not ridden horses very much in my life and never up a demanding mountain trail. So I'm just happy I made it. I think going down, that's going to be easy. Well, what I find is that going down is a lot harder than going back up. I mean, and the horse is, it's almost like straight down. I'm trying not to fall off the front of it. I mean, it's like, Jason, what the heck do I do? You know, just put your feet in the stirrups, push forward and lean back. How do I hold on? You don't. Like, oh my goodness, it's, so. And we had to walk our horses through a couple sections because it was just safer for them, safer for us. My horse did not want to go down some of these sections. He just was just standing at the top saying, you can do it, but I'm staying right here. And then we get to one of these really narrow sections, and again, loose rock, precipitous drops on either side. And the pack horse, named Shadow, Shadow is used to being the lead horse. So Shadow is usually the lead horse, and Shadow does not like following. Shadow does not like being able to set the pace. So we come in one of these little, tight little sections, and Shadow's head is right up against the butt of the horse in front of him, and he just decides to take things in his own matter, and he stretches out his neck, and he bites that horse right on its haunches. I mean, just a big old bite. And of course, that horse bucks a little bit, and Jason, who's a big guy, 6'4", 280 pounds, played football for West Virginia College, he gets control of his horse, and then he looks back, and Jason's a gentle man, like so many big men. He's really soft-spoken and really quite gentle. But in this moment, he grabs the rein of Shadow in front of him, pulls that horse's face nose to nose with his other hand, actually he's got the rein this way, with the other hand, he makes a big fist, and he says, if you do that again, I'm gonna knock you out. And then he lets go, and Shadow sort of looks at the horse in front of him and thinks about it, but then thinks better of it. Now, is this a battle Jason can lose? Can he afford to lose this battle? Yeah, it is a battle he can lose. Okay, and you're right, he can lose it. But can he afford to lose it? He cannot afford to lose that battle, can he? Because if that horse decides to bite his horse again, his horse rears up, Jason goes off the side, his horse goes off the side, they're probably going to shoot the horse. I don't know what to do. I mean, I'm going to be lost out. It's going to set off a whole series of really bad. He cannot afford to lose that battle, can he? I mean, it's crucial that that horse does what he tells it to do. And more than that, when does he have to decide if he can win that battle? Does he have to decide if he can win that battle when he's face-to-face with Shadow and Shadow has just bit his horse? Or does he need to decide if this is a battle he has to win before we ever start out? He's got to decide before we ever start out, right? He's got to know he can make those horses do what those horses are supposed to do, that he's going to be able to have this, or he's being completely irresponsible with his life, with my life, with the horses' lives. He's got to know that he's got the resources. He's got, everything hangs on this. And if he can make that work, if this is a battle he can win, if he can keep the horse doing what they're supposed to do, that creates opportunities that would never be possible otherwise. I'm going to get to go up to this lake. I'm going to get to see this lake. Perhaps I'll catch a golden trout, perhaps not. But I would never be able to do that if he can't win this battle. And if he can't win this battle and his horse misbehaves, then it's going to fill me with dread and worry. And if his horse does bite the horse and it bucks, then he gets injured and his family suffers, and then I'm stuck out in the wilderness and my family suffers. And so when people win, everybody wins. Winning lifts everybody up, and it creates opportunities. When people lose, all it does is it fills people with worry and dread around them. And as somebody said, I don't know who, but it's a quote I've always remembered because it seems to me so true. It says, when we win, we put our wins in our pocket. There's something they build confidence for us. But when we lose, we put our losses in our hearts. That's where we store our losses. And I've got some losses that to this day are still sticking right here, and we tend to spend a lot of our lives dealing with those losses, trying to make up for them, trying to compensate for them. Well, I share this story as a way of helping us think a little bit more about this morning's gospel. Because in this morning's gospel, Jesus is talking about crucial battles in life that you have to know you can win. And that you have the resources, that I have to know that I can win, that we have the resources to win these battles. And specifically, Jesus is talking about following him. He's talking about being a disciple of Jesus. He's talking about this being one of life's most crucial battles and knowing that we have the resources to win that battle. But generally, in a more general term, I think what Jesus is saying is that one of the secrets to life is knowing that there are battles that we absolutely have to win. It's not a matter of ego. It's not a matter of making a name for ourselves. It's not a matter of beating somebody else. But these are things that we have to accomplish, and not just for our own sakes, but for the sakes of everybody. If we win these battles, everybody benefits. If we lose these battles, everybody loses. So there's some battles that you just have to win. There's some battles that I just have to. Do you know what those battles are? Do I know what those are? Are we crystal clear about those? Do we know that we have the resources? Because if we don't know that, then what we do is we find ourselves engaged in lesser battles. We waste our resources on those battles, and then in the crucial battles of our life, we don't have the resources we need to win. So Jesus talks about people in their life work. He talks about these people in their life work. First guy is somebody who's building a tower. This is his life work. If he wins, if he's able to succeed building his tower, the whole community will be improved. People will have jobs. Everybody will be lifted up. If he loses, his family's going to suffer. People are going to get laid off. It's going to be an eyesore in the community. Everybody's going to lose. There's a lot riding on this game. He needs to know that what his life work is and that he can succeed in his life work. Otherwise, he needs to find something else to do. And the second person is a king going to war. Again, this is a king's life work. If a king succeeds in this war, then everybody in his community benefits from that. If he loses, everybody suffers. Everybody's going to be filled with dread. Everybody's going to worry. Everybody's going to suffer the consequences. So part of what Jesus is saying is that we need to be crystal clear about what the battles are in life that we absolutely cannot afford to fail. We absolutely must win. And then we have the resources to actually succeed in those battles. Again, accomplishing what needs to be accomplished, otherwise other people suffer. Some of those battles change throughout life. For instance, as a young parent, one of the battles that I was crystal clear I absolutely had to win, I simply could not lose, is that I had to teach my children discipline. And that's because if I lost that battle, they were going to pay for it. I could choose the easy path and just let my kids do what they want and not levy consequences for it. And I would benefit from that because my life would be easy. But my kids would suffer for that their whole life long. And so, in my opinion, you may differ, but in my opinion, a battle a young parent absolutely has to win is they have to be able to teach their kids discipline. And that's not my will against your will. If you do this, I'm going to knock you out. That doesn't work with kids. And when our will is removed from the equation, then kids just do what they want to do. No, when we teach our kids discipline, we're teaching a system. We're teaching them to have empathy for other people, to see how our actions affect other people, and to care about that. We're teaching them to make wise decisions, and then we're teaching them the kind of emotional regulation, self-regulation, that lets them choose accordingly, act accordingly, with those wise decisions and in what's in the best interest of others. That's far more complicated than just I'm bigger than you are, so you better do what I'm going to say. But winning that battle sets a kid up for life. Losing that battle puts a kid at a tremendous disadvantage they're always going to be swimming upstream. Now for me, just in the remaining time, I want to share with you the three battles that, at this point in my life, these are the three battles I personally feel like I absolutely must win. I'm not prepared to fail in any of these battles. And I will do whatever it takes. I will marshal whatever resource it needs to win these battles. All right? And I think they may be things that you might relate to as well. Perhaps these are battles that will be crucial for you to win as well. The first of those battles I just call the battle of salvation. Some people remember the verse in the Bible, we're saved by faith, not through works, lest any person should boast. It's the grace of God, and certainly it is. But when we receive the grace of God, we still need to partner with God, and there's still things we need to do. The Bible also talks about salvation, fighting the good fight, winning the race to win. So there's this idea in actually all religious traditions that we win salvation. Some of us will understand that in traditional terms, in terms of eternal destinies. I think most of us probably understand it that way. But some of you will understand it just in terms of gaining or losing a person's soul. We can go through life and we can become the people we were meant to be. We can keep our soul intact, or we can go through life and accomplish all kinds of things, but in the process, betray ourselves and lose our soul. If eternal destinies are on the line, I mean, what could be more important than that? Who cares what you succeed in this life? This life is just a tiny little blip. If we exist in some way beyond ourselves, and in this life we haven't set ourselves up for the next life, that's just plain foolish, right? I mean, it couldn't be much more foolish than that. And if we understand it in terms of keeping or losing our soul, you come to the end of your life, I come to the end of my life, we've accomplished all kinds of other things, but we haven't been true to ourselves, we've lost our soul in the process. That's an ugly place to be, friends. I've been there. I've seen people who have accomplished all kinds of stuff, dying bug-eyed with fear, tears coming out of their eyes with regrets, because they know they wasted their one and only life on things that didn't really matter. And they lost their souls in the process. And you don't want to be there. You don't hear much written about that. You don't, but I'll tell you, I've seen it. It's an ugly, ugly thing. And it's terrible to see, and as terrible as it is to see, I think it's got to be even more terrible to go through it. So I don't think that's a battle you want to lose. It's not a battle I want to lose. I don't think we want to lose that salvation battle. But you know, again, here's the thing. We live in a day and age where people just sort of think there's a mamby-pamby God up in heaven, and that God doesn't really care what you do because everything is going to work out in the end, and you know, that God's just probably a nice person, so do what you will and all work out in the end. That's not the way it works. There's not a single religious system, any religious system in the world that thinks that. There's not a system of moral philosophy that teaches that. It's like the physical world. You see somebody with a good body, you say, man, look at that. You know that person spent a lot of time in the gym working hard, watching what they eat. I mean, they've worked hard to achieve what they've achieved physically. And same thing in the spiritual world. If you want to win the spiritual battle, you're not going to drift into that. That's not going to happen by just doing what's convenient for you. It's not going to happen by just showing up when you're able. It takes commitment, it takes work, it takes intentionality. What resources are you going to bring to bear so that you win the salvation battle? What resources am I going to bring to bear so that I'll win the salvation, that at the very least I'll become the person I have the potential to be? And in the larger sense, that will shape my eternal destiny, so that beyond this life, I live in harmony with God and in the community of God, and that you will too. So you know, this is an incredibly important thing, and one of the reasons I'm excited about this fall is our Alpha program, where we have a chance to consider our faith, to think more deeply about our faith. And if that's something that excites you, if you want to bring some intentionality to your spiritual life, I commend that to you. You go down this hall, you'll see a sign up there. You'll see Daryl Breed's name first, my name second. Put your name under ours. Join us this fall. It's going to be a great course. If it's not Alpha, a Bible study, at work, here at church, a small group, quiet time every day, some way, shape, or form, reflecting on Scripture, praying, thinking about who God wants you to be, allowing God to transform your life. Otherwise, the world around you will transform you. You'll lose the soul in the process, and one day when you're on your dying bed, it's going to be you that's bug-eyed, filled with fear and regret, and that is not somewhere you want to be. Second battle I'm not prepared to lose, the second battle that I absolutely will win, and whatever resource it takes, is that I want to love the people that matter to me well. I want to love the people that matter to me well. And all kinds of people lose this battle. All kinds of really good people lose this battle. You just think of all the marriages that aren't doing very well. And in fact, a good marriage is the exception rather than the rule. You just think of all the kids that are struggling and all the ways that they're struggling, and so often they're struggling because they just don't have the relationship with their parents that they might have. You think of all the people that are lonely, don't have friends. I mean, you know, this is a battle so many people lose, is they devote themselves to so many other things, but they neglect the relationships in their lives. I heard somebody speaking, they say, you know, when in a hospital room, there's a room for about 8 people. So when you die and you're laying in your bed, who are the 8 people you want to have around you? And are you spending time with those people? Are you bringing the majority of your resources to bear on your relationships with those people? Or are you neglecting those people in some way, shape, or form? Are you failing to love those people like you want to love them? And you've heard me tell this story before, and I'll tell it again, I'm sure. But it's a story of a funeral I did down in Florida, Ormond Beach, Florida. This was a world-class guy. I mean, this is a guy whose name you would know if I told you his name. He succeeded, on world-class levels. He had more money than God. He had accomplishments as long as your arm. Just a super, super impressive man. And we were going to his funeral, and it was a moment just before the funeral, and I was with his wife, and we were all alone. And I said to her, you know, this must be so hard for you. I mean, I know you must have loved your husband, very much, and I just can't even imagine how hard. And she turned around and she made eye contact, and I mean, her eyes just narrowed down and squinted, and she said, loved him? I never even knew him. She just spit those words out. She was filled with so much anger So much bitterness. And I'll tell you, I mean, not many women are filled with that level of anger, but there are plenty of women as life goes on who recognize that they've been neglected in their relationships their whole life long. They suffered, they've sacrificed, and they get to that point and they are angry. So the question is, are you devoting yourself to the people who matter to you? Or are you devoting yourself to lesser things? We live in an area that will reward you for devoting yourself to lesser things. Do not let that happen. That is not a battle you can afford to lose. It's not a battle I can afford to lose. Who are the 8 people you want? It's not 8, it's 5. It's not 5, it's 3. But who are the people that matter to you? Are you loving them well? And then the final one is the service battle. And you know what? The first 2 actually in some ways come easy to me. I'm real interested in spiritual things. I love talking about spiritual stuff. I mean, that really floats my boat. I love my wife and my kids and my friends, and so it's easy for me to spend time with them. But the service thing, I could neglect that altogether. I'm busy, you're busy. I love my life. My life is really interesting to me. Your life is really interesting to you. I could spend all my time on the things that interest me. I really could. And I could neglect service altogether. But I don't want to be that kind of person. That's not a battle I'm prepared to lose. You've heard me say this before too. We live in an area where everyone wants bigger things. They want bigger biceps. They want a bigger house. They want a car with a bigger engine. They want to catch a bigger fish. They want to take a bigger trip. And so we're all in this process to get bigger, bigger, bigger. But if our hearts get smaller in the process, that's a bad deal. I am not willing for my heart to get smaller. I may never catch a golden trout, a big golden trout. I can live with that. I'll spend time trying, but I can live. I may never own a Corvette. That'll make me sad, but I can live with that. I mean, that I can live with that. But if my heart gets smaller, if my heart doesn't continue to, I cannot live with that. If I become a more selfish person, if my life just shrinks down on itself, that I only do what I want to do and care about the people that no. That is not who I want to be. And so I'm not going to lose that service battle. And sometimes it's hard for me because my whole job seems like service, but you know what? You guys have hard jobs too, and you serve beyond that. And so I've got to remind myself that beyond just what I do, the 60, 70 hours a week that I work here, I need to be serving out in the world as well. And that's not a battle I'm prepared to lose. And if that's you, then I hope that when you approach this fall, you will be saying that on a regular basis, week in and week. Again, great intentionality, because if you're not intentional about it, you will not do it. How are you going to serve this fall? How are you going to teach your kids to serve? Week in and week out, where are you going to log the time on somebody other than yourself? Where am I going to log the time on somebody other than myself? And if we lose that battle, what kind of person are you going to become? What kind of person am I going to become? I'm not willing to become that kind of person. I hope you aren't either. A guy by the name of Bob Goff, and I'm done now, this is the last thing I'm going to say, but a guy by the name of Bob Goff, who actually drives me nuts. Some of you have heard him talk. I mean, it's hard for me to listen to. I just think he's a loon. But he often says great things. And so I heard him speak recently, and the things he said, again, were just really, really great. And one of the things he said is, people say, how are you doing in your life? And we're always tempted to think about my life. How's my life going? He says, the best answer to how are you doing in your life is how the people around you are doing. The best answer to whether or not you're winning in life is whether the people around you are winning. When somebody wins, the best sense of word, accomplishes what needs to be accomplished, everybody benefits. So if you're doing the right things, if you've chosen the right battles, if you're bringing your resources to bear in the right battles, everybody around you is going to benefit. Your spouse is going to benefit. Your friends are going to benefit. Your kids are going to benefit. Your co-workers are going to benefit. People in your community is going to benefit. And if you look around you and you see people that are struggling, if you look around you and see people are, then that's probably an indication that we're not tending to the things that matter the most. So I think that's a great word. How are you doing? The best way to know how you're doing is not how you're doing. It's to look at the people around you and see how they're doing. And if they're not doing very well, then we might need to reassess what battles we're fighting, what are the crucial battles we absolutely cannot lose, and whether we have the resources to win those battles. And if the people around us are winning, again, I think we want to be equally clear. They're winning because these are the battles that I have refused to lose. I am not going to lose them now. I'm going to bring the resources we need to bear and going to continue to do the things that need to be done that matter most. And as we do that, I think, again, that accomplishing the things that really need to be accomplished lifts everybody around us. It's not for our sake that we accomplish these things. It's not for our sake that we need to be crystal clear about what the battles are crucial that we need to win, but it's for the sake of the people around us indeed, for the sake of the world. Amen. Amen. Amen.